Hey everyone, this is Alexander from the Code Maestro team. In the last video, I jumped straight from requirements to development, but skipped a crucial part, architecture. Today, we're fixing that. Architecture isn't just about code. It's about how a project is structured. Files, data, processes, and how people work together, all of that is architecture. If your architecture is bad, your project becomes a nightmare to manage. Scaling the team just creates more chaos instead of speeding things up. But if your architecture is solid, development speeds up, and the code stays scalable and flexible. Let's see how Code Maestro can analyze and improve an existing project's architecture in minutes. In this example, I asked Code Maestro to analyze the project's architecture and codebase. I also asked it to identify design patterns, which ones are clearly implemented, and which were only implied by the developers. Plus, I wanted a breakdown of naming conventions and whether the devs actually follow them. Let's see what it came up with. Besides detecting the game engine, Unity 3D and GGPO, it mapped out all the patterns used. The system report makes it easy to spot which patterns are in play. Player control is handled via a StateMachine. Input is managed using app server and command patterns, and core systems rely on Singletons. Solid, proven choices. If a pattern is only partially implemented, it either needs improvement, or there were no clear requirements for modularity and scalability in that part of the project. Here's something interesting. Code Maestro detected that AI control was supposed to use a strategy pattern, but it's not actually implemented. This is a clear opportunity for improvement. Naming conventions matter a lot. They make it way easier for devs to switch between different parts of the codebase. It's a huge boost to code readability and maintainability. From this report, I can see the project follows standard Unity and C# naming conventions pretty well. Awesome. Code Maestro generated this entire report in under a minute. Without an AI assistant, this would have taken forever. If you missed my last video, here's a quick recap of the big picture. I'm designing an interactive tutorial for this game. Here's the design doc, a list of technical requirements, which Code Maestro also helped create, and the goal. Analyze the repo and propose an architecture solution that aligns with both the tech requirements and the existing game structure. Let's see how Code Maestro handles this. First, it suggests using scriptable objects for storing hints. This fits the game's architecture and naming conventions. It also suggests creating a storybook manager. This aligns with both the existing structure and requirements. Yeah, I know, manager classes can get annoying. Personally, I'd call this storybook view, but this project doesn't use that naming style. This class will display unlocked hints in a narrative sequence exactly as the player discovered them. Code Maestro gets it spot on. Next up, tutorial triggers. I'm not a fan of one big unified trigger system. I'd prefer separate triggers for different event sources. But in this case, it matches the rest of the codebase, so it makes sense. Then there's the visual and audio hint system. Not my favorite way to separate things, but it's consistent with the existing architecture and Code Maestro is sticking to the given constraints. However, the separate system for saving loading hints is a great decision. And here's why. A lot of projects hardcode Unity's player prefs all over the place. This makes it a nightmare to switch storage solutions later, but here, with a dedicated save system, we can swap storage methods by tweaking one script without touching the rest of the project. Plus, since our tutorial has a narrative component, save load logic needs to be a bit more advanced. Having a dedicated system makes that way easier to handle. So in just a few minutes, Code Maestro analyzed the entire codebase, generated a detailed report, and proposed an architecture solution tailored to my requirements. 5 minutes of work and my day is done. I specifically asked Code Maestro to keep this separate from the main game. In my next videos, I'll show how to refine this architecture and improve the actual implementation. See you in the next one.